So ladies and gentlemen, welcome live from the studios here at Guadalajara Mexican Restaurant in Leeds, Alabama. I welcome my friends, Eric and Tiffany Classic. They live up in Ohio and it's cold. You can see by the way they're dressed there. Well, I'm wearing a jacket today too. So anyway, it's warm here today, but it's cold here in the restaurant. But Eric and Tiffany are friends, former members here at Community Church in Moody. So I've known them for years. And continue a relationship with them up in Ohio, and it's a pleasure to welcome y'all today. How are y'all doing?
Thanks, Bert.
You're good, thank you.
We're doing pretty well.
Good. Well, I wanted to interview you and let my newsletter people hear your answer to a few questions, and I'm gonna read them sort of as I proposed them to you. But the first question is this: as you look back on your younger days as unbelievers, as non-Christians, you probably remember that many churches tended to isolate themselves from and not engage a lot with unbelievers. So what were your thoughts about the church back in that day, and what did you find unappealing about the church or about Christianity in general because of that?
Well, I think for me, especially being young, I felt looked down upon,
Church.
What's that?
By the church?
By the church, right. So, almost like they were too good to for lack of a better term, come to my side of town, or, let me in with the, hanging out with their children, or, I was kind of the kid maybe that parents warned their children about to stay away from. So yeah, I think in general, I felt looked down, and honestly, it felt extremely hypocritical because, especially for a lot of what I'll call Sunday Christians who seem to live the identical lifestyles as me, except they went to church on Sunday and I didn't, right? That's kind of the way I felt.
I didn't have all of that, but the part where Eric said the hypocritical part, I don't like to say that, but that's how it felt. The church was not out engaging, at least in my area or where we were from, but the people we knew all attended church, but their lives looked much more like ours than what we would think a Christian life would be. Outside of, I guess, their Sunday worship service. And so that's what we saw as youngsters growing up.
Right. And that's hurtful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the time we became adults in seeing that, we were so far removed from the church, or had already had such a disdain, I would say, for the church that, at that point there was really, it would have been very difficult for someone from the church to try and come into our homes or, reach us at that point. Gotcha.
Well, you are believers now, and now that you have been converted and you're very extremely committed to the church, why do you think it's still hard for Christians like ourselves to get outside of the bubble of the church? Why is it so hard for us to do that?
I've seen a lot, especially amongst the women, because I did women's ministry up here for a while. It seems to be a safety measure and a comfort measure. So we are comfortable being around like-minded people, and we have that safety of people who think like us to crowd us. It's like a bubble, living within the Christian bubble. Yeah. And so stepping out of that bubble is risk and fear. And also, I think sometimes a stigma to where you're this Christian person, but you're out there hanging out with people who are not Christian, do not hold your values, and they don't want to be looked down upon or seen as living that lifestyle if they're trying to follow what the Lord's doing. So maybe it's a like conflict of their conscience a little bit,
Mhm.
I have seen mostly the fear of coming outside of comfort zone and the safety of their Christian circles.
I've been afraid.
Yeah.
I've had to wrestle with those emotions, a lot, and again,
Yeah.
really particularly where we live here.
Yeah, I think interestingly enough too, there's a lot of similar to my response for what I viewed as the Christian church and the way I viewed that they viewed me. There's the same feeling, right? Like I work in the corporate world. And so there's this feeling that if people know I'm a Christian, they look down upon me, right? And so it's like kind of the same exact view from the other side now, because the world does look down upon Christians, at least in our post-Christian society. That's the way it seems. I've had some what I'll call interesting responses from people who have I've told that I'm a Christian, that don't make you feel all necessarily warm and fuzzy inside.
Those responses too. So
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay. It hurts. It does hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in your opinion, what needs to happen for the church or for Christians to change and get outside of our bubble and start taking the ministry of the gospel, the truth of the gospel out into the wild? What needs to change? What do we do?
Well, I think we start by knowing our Bibles better, so we know God better, because I think part of it is a lack of trust, right? Part of our fear is we don't fully trust in the sovereignty of the Lord, and so we want to stay inside our bubbles, where if we know the Lord better, I think we trust Him more, and that certainly helps us get out of that comfort zone, because we want to do what He's calling us to do.
Mhm.
Great answer.
I think as well, we have to be more how do I say it? We have to be more concise in our prayer lives. So we pray often for friends, we pray often for healing, we pray for jobs, for financial well-being. We don't pray often enough for conversion of non-believers,
Discipling opportunities.
or discipling opportunities for the Lord to put people in our lives that we can speak Christ into. So I think we got to be more concise in that. And I think it has to come from the pulpits and our eldership, because, what we hear being prayed for on Sundays is what we're going to hear being prayed for around our dinner tables and in the evenings. And I think the more we pray about it, the more the Lord's going to give us an opportunity to work in the lives of non-believers.
Great thoughts there. Yeah. I do have one more question.
Okay.
And I think you can speak to this. In the upcoming NFL draft, what particular needs are the Steelers going to be addressing?
I think the Steelers are going to go defensive tackle. I'm really hopeful they move up and take that kid from Georgia, because he's a beast.
It's a stud, yeah.
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 I think a lot of people have him taking a quarterback. I'll be honest, I'll be surprised. Not as surprising now because of what happened to Haskins, which is very unfortunate. So, maybe they do take a quarterback, but I'd be surprised if they take a quarterback. I think they feel pretty comfortable with what they got. And
well, I'll be passing along these thoughts with my friends over at ESPN.
Yeah, you should.
See if they agree
has a lot more.
The other people that randomly guess about what all the NFL teams are going to do in the draft.
Yeah. It's just random guesses. You're exactly right.
That's right.
Hey, I appreciate y'all's time and your willingness just to share briefly some thoughts. And I'll encourage all my readers to think about these things. And again, thank y'all so much.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah,
asking,
thank you,
Bert.
Bert.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.